Hello, I am Cynthia and this is Circle of Love, and today we're working on a very fun activity that I saw a photo of online and I got really inspired because it happens to align with some of the work that I've already been doing and some of the ideas that I've already been thinking about. So for starters, I want to show the supplies that I'll be using, and that way you can make sure that you have everything you need. All right, today I have colored papers. I have gathered some fall colors, and you can gather any colors you want. I'll also be adding additional color on top of these, so it kind of doesn't really matter what color you use. It's more about what colors you are drawn to right now, okay? So I have some colored papers, and I also have glue. I have a glue stick and I have regular glue only because I just want to allow myself two different options, but you could choose one or you could choose the other. It doesn't really matter. Any type of attaching tool is fine. I also have scissors, and you might also want to have a pencil. Let me grab my pencil real quick to sketch out. There we go. And this will help you as we kind of develop our shapes. Speaking of shapes, I'm going to talk quickly about what our activity is today. We are going to be working on a fall paper leaf lace hanging. What does this mean? Well, actually, this project is inspired by a website called Crocotac, which is actually a kids, and they also say kids and parents, but kids mostly activities, creative activities. And this one was particularly inspiring to me because I've been noticing all of the leaves around here lately. I'm always noticing the leaves every year, and I feel like I always want to do something about it. And I'm never quite sure. So here I have some leaves that I've collected. This one actually I collected and then I drew on because again, I'm just always inspired by leaves. Here you can see I'm also constantly photographing leaves. I'm just fascinated by all the different patterns and designs and textures and shapes that they all have. Look at this one. I'm not so much concerned usually with keeping track of the type of leaf that they are, more like I am just the different qualities of them. This one was a dried up leaf I found on the ground, and there, so on and so forth. And as you can see, yes, I am an avid leaf noticer, appreciator. I even have this one here that I love the shape of as well. So I love this project because not only will it give us a chance to create something that's beautiful that we can even use as decoration for the season, but also because it reminds me of changes. And I'm constantly talking about changes in my work, and being able to go with the flow, change with the seasons, reminding us that life has seasons, and sometimes we have to look for different ways to get through those seasons. Sometimes we also are able to find things that we can really appreciate about all those different seasons. And so each leaf that you create can simply be a decorative new different type, maybe some types of leaves that you tend to admire as well yourself. But you can also think of each different leaf as maybe a different area or focus of your life, maybe events, maybe memories, anything really in any way that you want to interpret this project is okay. If you even feel like, well, I can't really think of what meaning to apply, don't worry about it. Just get started. So speaking of that, I'm going to get us started. And I'm going to look at this leaf that I have here because I love the shape of it right there. It's so simple. I'm not going to worry so much, by the way, about these kind of irregular edges here. I'm looking at the whole entire shape of it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to sketch that general shape. It's okay if it doesn't come out exact. This is not an exact project. And there, so I have something like this right now. It kind of almost looks like a sort of like a tulip kind of could be shape. And size wise, I might vary my sizes slightly, but this one, if this was an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, you can see it takes up maybe about 1/4 of the page. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that out, and I'm going to leave that drawn, and I'm just going to get a different color of paper, and I'm going to go try a different leaf. Now, like I said, I have a collection of leaves that I love to look at. I have this page here in case you're interested in some inspiration of different types of leaves, and I really like this one for myself. So I am going to try to get that shape laid out here on my paper. Okay, and again, we are not looking for perfection. We do not, I'm actually giving myself the added challenge of no erasing allowed. So if you feel like you're someone who needs that challenge as well, because maybe you tend to want to try to get things perfect, I recommend just moving on to the next step. I have this one drawn, and I'm just going to grab another paper, and I'm going to keep going like this. I'm going to start with maybe about 4 leaves just to kind of get me, get me warmed up here. I'm really fascinated by the shape of this leaf as well, so I'm going to give that a try. And notice that right now I'm working more towards replicating leaves that are existing in nature already, like that actually really exist, I would say. Okay, here's this one, and I've done about 3 of them that I've now, oh wait, actually I'm going to do one more that I know that I have seen, like this shape. I love this shape here. It's very simple. Something about it feels very iconic to me. I'm going to go ahead and do that one as well, because I think the reason that I'm drawn to it is because it could be a lot of different things. It could also maybe be a feather shape. So I'm going to go ahead and record that one. But I have 4. Let me pull them back out again. I have 4 now that I've gotten from actual leaves that I've seen in real life. Okay, 4 different colors. And I'm going to go ahead and start cutting them out, because I want to show you how they're going to start to fit together. Also, with the cutting process, I'm not trying to be perfect about it. The great thing is that if I don't get my cut right on the pencil line, I'll be able to take the whole thing and flip it over and just use this side, at the clean side without any pencil lines, as the front of my project. Okay, so I'm not worried about that. The other reason I like this activity, and I mentioned this in the description, is that it helps us grow our creativity, because it helps us 2 things. First, start training our eye to catch those differences, to notice the variations of the different shapes and maybe designs and patterns on the different leaves, but also because it helps us in a moment to experiment with our own shapes of leaves. It gives us more options. Anytime that we can create more options for ourselves, we're growing our creativity. And I always like to apply metaphors to life. And so actually, when we create new choices for ourselves, or new options, or new possibilities, and in that way we're growing our creativity, we're also building our resilience. And that's where our coping ability comes from. So anything that you can do to just notice that you have different options, and therefore allow you to not feel as stuck or limited, is going to be really great for your brain, for your body, and for your spirit. Okay. So I have 4 that I've started here, and I will need 4 eventually in order to create a large, in a sense, a big mat or a big rectangle full of these leaves. But I want to show how the leaves will end up getting attached, because some of these it will be great if we can go ahead and start letting them dry. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm just laying them out, not really thinking too much about it, other than trying to make sure that they're each touching another leaf at least in 2 areas or at 2 points, okay? And so I'm taking this red one, let me flip it to this side so I can't see the pencil line. And I'll apply just a little bit of glue there on the edge, not too much because I want my glue to be able to dry quickly. So the less glue I add, the quicker it will dry. And now I'm going to come over and I'm going to attach and see how I'm leaving some space in between these, okay? That's what gives us that lace kind of effect. Lace is a design usually made of thread, possibly incorporating some crochet, there we go, that has design, but also has holes or spaces between the design points. So there we go. I have 3 attached together now. Okay, and you can see so far that the red here is attached to the orange here and also to this beige or tan paper here. The orange is attached both to the red and to the beige or tan. Now I'm going to come and I'm going to attach this big one, and I think I'm going to attach it actually going this direction. Even though it's not touching in 2 points, I know that I'm going to come in, I'm going to add another leaf here that will then anchor this big leaf together to another one. So because if I tried right now to attach at 2 points, this big one is just going to come and cover up this other one too much. So I'm just doing a little bit of planning ahead with that. Not worrying again too much about the design that they're creating as I'm attaching, more worrying about if the leaves are able to be seen, the individual leaves. Okay, I want to be able to see the individual leaves because of their really cool shapes. All right, so I'm setting those aside for a moment just so that they can kind of start drying, and I'm noticing I'm just going back and pressing at some of the points where some of the paper, because of the type of paper that I am using on this red one, it just wants to curl up a little bit. So I just go back and press it, give it a little press every now and then, okay? All right, so now what I'm going to do is take a moment to work on some leaves that I make up or that I create or that I design on my own. And I might draw inspiration from some of the ones that I've already observed from nature. Again, I might just use some of the areas of them that I really like. For example, I really love this on the red leaf, this kind of top pointy part and also this side pointy part. Oh, even the curve right here. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to add top pointy part. I'm going to add a curve and bring this out again. Now this right now looks like the red leaf, but what I'm going to do is add another one here, add another one. And I bet you that this leaf does exist somewhere in nature. I feel like this is a type of leaf that we've seen before. If we look at this page, this one has a similar pattern, but it has some added pointy parts here. And so I'm not including those in this one. I'm just going to leave it like this right now. Okay, so I drew that one extra. I'm going to take another paper. I'm going to draw another extra of my own design. I like how I have in my scrap paper, I have this little piece right here. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to make a bit of a kind of a swirly kind of a leaf or a curved kind of a leaf like that. Maybe it's a leaf that's curled up. Okay. All right, I'm setting that aside. I'm going to go for 4 new leaves that I designed myself. I'm going to come to this color and let's see. Notice I'm changing colors every time. And I think for this one, I always really love this type of shape, this one here. So I'm going to do something that's a spin off of that. So I'm going to do oh, that's right. I'm going to make a curve on one side that comes to a little bit of a point here. I'm going to take the other side and bring it over like this, and then keep bringing it like this beyond that curve here to a point right there. Now, it's not very complicated. It's not a fancy leaf shape by any means, but that tiny little curve and that tiny little point, I feel like, is what sets it apart. Okay, and let's see, I have 3 new leaves that I designed. I'm going to do one more. Let's see, I'm thinking about, and it doesn't even have to be leafy. Actually, I think I'm going to go with, I've seen something like this before, although I don't have, let me see if I have a photo of it. Let me see, it's not in my, oh, here it is. Yes, here it is. I've seen this one too that I'm always really interested in because of this and this and this and this. So that part right there. So I started something similar on my paper right here, right now. And I'm going to kind of make it my own by continuing it like this. And I'll even do one more big wider section there, and this one I end up running out of space here, so I'm just going to make it a shorter section, so it'll be longer on one side or wider on one side and shorter on the other. That's okay. So now I have 4 additional leaves that I designed on my own that actually, some of them may look like they could be real leaves, and they may actually be real leaves somewhere in the world. But I won't worry about that right now. It doesn't matter. We're going to trim these. Okay, because we want to start to get these attached and we want to start to decorate. Okay. If at any point you feel like you're still working on designing, if you're still working on cutting, and I've moved on to the next step, don't worry. If you're watching by video, you can always pause. If you're watching live, you can continue, and there will be more time after I stop the recording as well. No problem. So I have now, oh look, I turned this leaf over. I just noticed this paper has some writing on it, or some decorative writing. I may or may not use the decorative writing side. Okay, I'm going to come over to this leaf and trim this. This one almost reminds me of a slug, which is often found at this time, where I find some of these leaves sometimes in the fall. And absolutely, you can incorporate other imagery. You do not have to keep this limited to leaves. If you end up getting inspired and you get an idea, I always say follow that idea. That's another way that we practice changing direction, which helps us also build our resilience. Practicing in simple ways like this, in low risk ways like this, helps us actually develop those same muscles that it requires to do this work. For example, to be able to change directions and be adaptable when there are other situations that are more difficult or challenging. Okay. All right, so I have here some additional leaves, and last time I used my liquid glue. This time I'm going to try my glue stick. Okay, and I think that, there we go. I just might have to put a little extra glue stick just to make it extra strong. So now I'm coming in, once again, I'm looking for ways that I can try to attach at 2 points while still leaving a little bit of a space there and somewhere close by. So I'm going to attach here. I'm going to attach here. All right, and I'm looking at this color of this one, and I want to try to insert that somewhere here. I'm going to attach this one here. It's going to span 1, 2, 3 leaves. This one's going to connect all these 3 together and just add some strength. Okay, so I'm just kind of estimating where that piece will land. There we go. And placing that to make sure that it's touching, and then coming in and adding the other one. I think I'm going to still use the plain side, and I see that on the plain side I have some pencil marks left, so I'm just going to quickly erase a few of them. I won't worry about getting every speck of pencil off of there. I'm just looking at the biggest parts that show up the most. Okay. Coming over here, attaching, I think I'll attach here. Let's see there, and then I'll attach here. Okay. All right, and coming over here, I have this one more, and I think this one's a little bit trickier because of the shape of it. So let me look at the other side. There we go. I think maybe it works better here in terms of being able to attach at 2 points and still leave plenty of space. There we go, empty space in between, and allow the other leaves to be seen. There. Okay. You know, as I'm working on this and as I'm thinking about the idea of appreciating, noticing first, and appreciating all of the different nuances, the different shapes, the different colors, you know, of these different leaves, I'm also thinking about almost a sense of gratitude for the different possibilities that there can be, that, you know, we're not often not stuck with really just one choice. Or just one option, that we have a variety available to us sometimes, if it's a matter of just design or color, but also sometimes, you know, it's a matter of decisions, that we can go in different directions. It might not feel that way at times, but we definitely can. All right, now here's where we're going to kind of let the glue start setting without moving these around too much. And also here's where you could continue cutting, designing more leaves and continue attaching. And I might do that actually later on. But for now, what I'd like to do is get on to the designing portion. And the designing portion can happen a couple of different ways that I'll show you. And of course, you're always welcome to use your own ideas. Absolutely. For the designing portion, I like to start with some of these scraps that I have left from the trimmings of the leaves that I've cut so far. Okay, I have this one over here. I'm just kind of gathering up all my scraps. That's the other thing, you know, we're often so focused on just looking at things in a perfect way, looking at things, or should I say, hoping that things are perfect, and really only using what we intended to use. But if we look at what we did not intend to use maybe in the beginning, there are actually some interesting shapes in there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm taking some of these areas, because I'm going for a more rounded or intentional kind of a design. I say intentional because this piece, let me explain that, still has, this is one of my scrap pieces, still has these straight and these sharp corners and edges here. And it has these rounded curvy ones. The rounded curvy ones are the ones that to me look like some of the features of some of my leaves. So I'm going to just take the edges that are straight or that are there, pointy, and I rounded them off. And so now I have this piece. It's just got some rounded points. And I'm going to take it and see where can that fit. It could fit here. It could fit here. It could fit here. And I'm also noticing the combination of the color when I place it on the different leaves. Could fit there. Oh, I think I kind of like that there. I think I like that there. I'm going to leave that one right there for right now. Okay. And I'm going to do that with the rest of my scraps as well. Looking at all the different shapes that are in the scraps, seeing how can I turn that into a design that gets applied to one of my leaves. And here I'm just going to come and trim a skinnier portion. Kind of take that off of there. And I might need to trim that down further, but I see that because it's long, actually it fits nicely inside of that shape, inside of that long leaf. Okay. I'm going to continue this process until I have found a use for most of these. Let's see, this is a nice long one here. Okay, and it's actually extra long, but I might just leave it anyway, just because it could end up becoming a part where that I attach to another leaf that I add later. Okay, coming to this one. Okay. Again, I'm just working on first rounding those pointy parts and then seeing if it's able to be used that way first. I might trade that out. I might come and put this one here instead. So that's the reason why we're not gluing them yet, because you might need to do some changing out or trading, exchanging. Okay, first just rounding the corners. There we go. Let's see. I also noticed that I have a lot, oh, actually, that's kind of neat. I have a lot of this, I happen to have a lot of this kind of a copper type of color paper, and I'm looking for something that can kind of stand out here on this central orange leaf. So I wonder if I can use some of this red. Let's see what I can do. Round that. I'm going to round that a little bit. Going to round that a little bit. And I think I'll just place it. I think I'll actually trim this down a little more. There. I'll leave that one there. And maybe this one could become a part of another one. Maybe that one there. Okay. And I just have these white pieces. You don't have to use every single scrap by any means. That's just up to you. If you feel like they fit, great, go for it. If you feel like they're not really fitting, don't worry about it. There you go. I think maybe I'll go this direction with it. There. Okay, so now I have some of these pieces that I've laid out using my scraps. I noticed this scrap has a bunch of pencil lines on it, so I'm just going to come and erase again the parts that are showing the most. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these down. Now, if you would like to make your paper hanging larger, remember you're welcome to continue adding more leaves, okay, to this. And right now I stopped at this size only so that I can begin my designs and show you how that works. Putting that one in there. And we're starting our designs with paper trimmings. And then the supply list did say markers, because we're going to use markers. You could use a pen, you could try using colored pencils, you could try using crayons, you could try anything that you have. This doesn't have to be a fancy or complicated, there we go, project. Okay, Okay, but what this is doing is the act of cutting, the act of gluing, the act of deciding, the act of choosing, okay, of placing things. All of these are not just creating or supporting wellness processes in our body right now, but also in our mind, and building our resilience in terms of practicing choice, practicing options. Okay, again, this is a really simple, easy way to do this, low risk way to do this. Okay, so here's what I have so far. And now this acts as basically a background, okay? I am going to grab my markers. Here we go. And the markers I'm using right here are actually acrylic markers. And so it's almost like they are paint markers. You could really use any type of marker, just whatever you happen to have. Actually, this would be a great opportunity for even just a black permanent marker as well. But since I have these and they happen to be close by, I'm going to go ahead and choose some colors. And I'm going to start adding some very, very basic designs, like, for example, circles. Okay, this color didn't show up as much, so I'm going to just take a different color. There we go. And I'm going to add a little bit of an outline to those circles that I had just drawn there. I'm going to choose a different color. Oh, let's try this light orange on top of this dark red background. And here is where I could add designs that mimic some of the leaf designs that actually exist in real life in nature. Okay, so some of these kinds of things that might be really inspiring, or just make up my own. And right now, I'm feeling like I just want to make up my own. Yes, I love looking at those that exist in nature, and I think I'm going to just, there we go, borrow some of that inspiration and that curiosity and just kind of add my own. And they don't have to make sense. As you can see here, the patterns that I drew on these two parts of the leaf go upright and this one goes down. It doesn't have to make sense. This is a creative, very, very free kind of exercise, or by free I mean loose exercise. The other thing that's interesting is to look at the way that the different, if you're using colored markers, the way that the different colors show up on the different backgrounds. In other words, the same color of orange marker that I used on that dark red background has a completely different effect when I use it on this grayish background. And all of these are opportunities to just notice and collect information. Let's see here, I'm going to try some dots. Now, this is another opportunity to grow your creativity, is to experiment with different lines, shapes, colors, designs, patterns that you may not normally think to try. And it just gives you the chance, again, in a very, very low risk way, to practice, to try new things, grow your options. And you might find, oh, actually I did that thing and I'm not really interested in it anymore. That's okay. It's absolutely fine. You tried it. That's what matters. Okay. As I'm adding my designs, I'm really just thinking about what new mark can I make in this area that I haven't made yet anywhere. So inside of this one leaf right here, I did some wavy lines, I did some dots, I did some triangles. Okay, it's nothing fancy. But by changing the colors, it starts to give it more of a dynamic look. Okay, so I'm going to keep working in this way to keep adding more designs, more patterns, really thinking about noticing different nuances of what's already around me, just observing. You know, that could also be applied to my life, that sometimes I get so focused on one thing that I don't notice other things. And maybe by not noticing other things, either I'm maybe neglecting those other things, or maybe I'm forgetting that those other things can actually be helpful to me in some way. And so just practicing a little mindfulness, practicing looking at things the way they are, not trying to change them too much, instead maybe just looking at them the way they are, adding to them the way they are. Okay. I'm going to continue with my project, and if you're watching on video, this is the time where I am going to pause and I'm going to invite you to keep going as well. And I thank you so much for joining me by video or by recording. And I hope that you'll try to make it next time. That's always wonderful. And if you do get a chance to complete your project, please send me a photo. I love seeing your work. Thank you so much. And I'm sending you lots and lots of love. And I hope to see you again next time.